Hi, 3DMJers. This is Andrea Valdez, and you are listening to the 3D Muscle Journey podcast. Before we dive into today's episode, just wanted to remind everyone to head over to 3dmusclejourney.com and sign up for our Big 3 newsletter. We call it this because, in case you haven't noticed, our team comes up with 3 new pieces of content every week in the form of 2 articles and 1 podcast episode. Rather than remembering to check back with us 3 times a week, we can send it all to you in one single email every Thursday. This weekly digest also includes direct links to any other content that Team 3DMJ coaches are a part of throughout the entirety of the internet. Whether that's guest appearances, interviews, seminars, or courses, you will not miss any of it. So if you like hearing about all the free resources that we have to offer, all the products we sell, all the projects we are a part of, and all the ways you can get discounts, reminders, and early access to them, head over to 3dmusclejourney.com right now and sign up. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy the show. Today, Brad Loomis is actually interviewing myself and Jeff Alberts about motivation. So a few days before this recording, Brad approached the rest of us 3DMJ coaches wanting to propose this very topic to you guys, and we happily obliged. Knowing that it was Jeff and I up on the rotation, Brad wanted to dig into the specifics of what kind of keeps us ticking towards our ambitions in life. This one isn't so much about how we got where we are, because we've had a podcast on that before. This one's more about how we see the world and what thoughts come into our brain when opportunities arise. We talk about our fears, what we're proud of, the verbal cues that help us through adversities in life, how we keep our athletes motivated, and a whole lot more. So again, this one's Brad's baby, so if you dig it, please feel free to let him know on Instagram. His handle is at 3DMJCoach, and if all one word, by the way, so at 3DMJCOACH. If you have any feedback for the team on the specific episode, you can leave that for us at 3dmusclejourney.com under podcast number 51. And here we go. This is Motivated Mindsets with Brad Loomis and Jeff Alberts.
You know, there's all these really cool sayings that are like, fall down 7 times, stand up 8, you know, empty the tank. So go after your dreams, you know, they're right out there, you know, all this stuff that's so cool to say, but, you know, it's so hard to live that way. And it's such a minority, you know, I'm not even going to say really a minority. It's such a fraction of the people, you know, that live that way, that have that creed, right?
Right.
And so, you know, some people are born with it, you know, maybe that's a super minority. Others get exposed to it by other stuff. But, you know, I think that, Andrea, I just want to encourage you to do what you do best, you know,
okay,
and talk and tell us, you know, what is it that makes you live that credo? Because in my opinion, you fit that minority. You're one of those rare people that's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm moving to California and I'm going to start up this fitness business, you know? Yeah. What is it that makes you that way?
Dude, I have no idea. God, I don't know. I can talk about like what motivates me now, but it's like the thing that I feel like happens over and over is something like an opportunity or a decision will come into my life or my brain, and I go, and for whatever reason, the thing I notice is I'm like, yeah, we could do that, or yeah, that's no big deal. And like in my brain, that's how it sounds. And then when I say, hey, I've decided to do this to other people, they're always like, what? Are you crazy? And I'm like, what? It's no big deal. So like, I really don't know if I can explain it. But that's like the observation. So when you say, are you born with it? Like, I don't remember how early it started to where when I would want to do things, people would be like, for real? Like, you're crazy. Or like, that's really difficult. You know that? Or how are you going to do that? And I'm like, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Like, I know that I've always been that way. And I don't know if that's a birth thing or something I actively work on, or maybe both, but I do notice that things sound less crazy in my brain than out loud.
Interesting. So yeah, maybe you are one of those, because I don't know. I can see that. I could be like, Andrea, what are you thinking? You know, do the safe thing. Don't don't be that aggressive. You're risking everything. What about a backup plan, you know? But you've never, that's just always been in your makeup. You've never taken training or anything like that. It's just ingrained in you.
I mean, I don't know. I don't remember. Some people say like they have memories when they're like before like 5 or 6 years old. I don't. All I remember was gymnastics started. Like I was a gymnast. That's all I remember. I was a little gymnastics kid, and I think maybe that has a lot to do with it. That most people don't want to, go upside down and swing in the air and like all this stuff. And it was an environment to where that was normal. I That's the only thing I can think of like in my roots, right? Because it's not like my whole family's like this. Actually, they're quite the opposite. Very much so, almost all of them. So I
Hmm.
think that's the main thing that I don't. I guess the earliest I can think where I veered differently than anyone that I grew up with and around was I grew up in the gym, not really at home. I mean, of course, my parents mattered, but I think maybe that might have been where it started, where a lot of little kids don't think to do the crazy shit that we do at a younger age. So maybe that was where it started. I don't know.
Hmm. Wow, that is so interesting. Well, yeah, and really to be honest with you, regardless, I think it's just another reason why I'm, just so thankful that God brought you us, because whether that is ingrained in you or how that actually happened, I just love that when you use the term scrappy. I love that term when you use that. It's just I'm just scrappy. If I can't figure it out, I'll start reading shit online, or I'll figure out a way to do it. And I just
Yeah.
that is so awesome. And I really am so thankful that you're like that and that you bring that to our table.
Thanks, Brad.
Um,
That's really
no,
nice.
you're welcome, and you've rejuvenated that in me. So yeah, Jeffrey. I mean, we think about you. What, 7, 8 years ago, your back's against the wall. You're losing your job, a very secure job. Life is just a gray blur for you, and you just take a leap of faith with these three dudes that you barely know, and like, you know what? I'm not gonna go find a secure job. I'm gonna do this online thing. What made you do that, and what kind of makes you that way?
Oh yeah, that was that wasn't gray. That was dark. That was a dark time in my life.
It was black, he said.
It was pretty. It was getting pitch black, and yeah, the job that I thought was really secure of 16 years. Once we got that announcement that they're going to shut the plant down, so we had about a year to where we knew, okay, that's when they were going to close the door. So trying to prepare, it's like, okay, what am I going to do? I was like, okay, do I go back to school? And about the same time, that's when I was meeting the other guys at 3DMJ, Eric and Berto, and then eventually you, Brad. So I was like, here these guys want to start this coaching thing, and I'm like, okay, that's really not going to pay the mortgage or anything like that. So it was like it was a hard decision to make, to say, okay, I'm not gonna pursue school or anything like that, or go get another job. So I was like, I think the thing I could say is that it was just that passion that I had towards the sport at the time, and the fact that we were going to help people, like just that passion to pursue something. I was just like, leading up to like when the plant closed, it was like, get home, like I'd get home, first thing I would do is go straight and start working on the website all the way to like midnight. And I knew there was no money involved in that at all. It was just something that I was loving. I was actually, doing my blog and all that once a week, just trying to really build that website up. So I was getting literally like maybe 3 or 4 hours sleep a night. That was it. So it's work at the plant, get off, train, then work on the website, and just grind that way. And eventually, basically, once that plant closed, I had severance pay. So I had a little bit of a nest egg there to kind of, okay, I could live off this for a little while. So it was just like there was a little bit of that security in that, but I knew time was running out. And it just happened that as time was unfolding, 3DMJ kept growing. So it was like the hourglass was running out, but this other thing that I was chasing that was just literally just my passion, and with 3 other passionate dudes, we were starting to formulate something, and just the timing just happened to be right. So I can't really explain, why it happened. I mean, I know why it happened, but I think it was like that door that shut. Like, here was my life prior to 3DMJ that was pretty secure, very boring, mind you. Going to working in an auto plant was not very exciting, but put food on the table. My bills were paid. I had medical, full coverage, medical, everything. I was pretty much set. I had a 401. Just that typical American life. Go to work, go home, buy a house, those types of things. Then all of a sudden that's taken away. So it was like that door shut. It basically was forced upon me, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise, really, when I think about it now, because obviously where I am now, it's like total 180. So my life totally enhanced because of that. And actually working at that plant that whole time, I was the type of guy that I get very content. So if I feel comfortable and I'm secure, I just get content. And so for 16 years, I was just like, basically like Groundhog Day. And I remember thinking, when they were closing the plant, I'm like, I could have went to college 4 times the amount of time I was at this plant, and I didn't do it. I didn't do it because I was content.
Yeah.
So that, so going through that 16 years, and then obviously doing, having you guys to kind of chase my passion, and someone to chase my passion with, and to see where actually passion takes you. Because I know a lot of people, basically, they were in my shoes, or they are in my shoes. They're just content. They got their 9 to 5. Okay, I'm good. But I mean, if you truly aren't happy, then you got to chase your passion. So that's basically what I'm still doing. And now, even now, when I'm prepping, like, I never know how much longer I have in the sport. So I'm like, I'm going to empty the tank. Like, I'm going to chase this down. And it just, that way there's no regret. Because if I would have, let's say I didn't chase what I was doing for 3DMJ, and I'll say, let me go get another job, like 8 to 5 job or whatever, I'd probably be doing the same shit, just at a different place, and being bored and miserable.
Yeah. That's so interesting, because 2 things come to mind, listening to you, Jeff. And, I think, first of all, people, they underestimate the short amount of time that we're on this earth. And so it's like, you hear this saying of people, you know what, stop living like you've got 1,000 years ahead of you. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't manifest the greatness that's inside you, and get to work on these things. And then the second thing is, what I'm kind of hearing from you is that you kind of do best by planning through action. It's kind of like, we didn't have this whole 3D Muscle Journey business plan all laid out. We had the groundwork, but then we just kind of put it into action. And we knew that things might change a little bit, but regardless, we were moving,
Yes.
And those are cool things.
I think I needed a nudge, though, too, from you guys. Because it was like, Eric and Berto were like, we can do this. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Because it's like, it's a scary thing. Because even though I only had so much time left at the plant, I mean, it's hard when you're making good money, there's benefits, and then you're going to go do something that you just really, it's the unknown. Like, you don't know how it's going to work out. You don't know if you're going to make enough money doing this. I have no college education. So it's like, if this doesn't work, then what? I'm screwed. Then I'm going to be wasting like a year, 2 years, 3 years of my life trying to chase something that doesn't pan out. Then what? I'm 3 years older or whatever. So that was a scary. So to have those group of people that are around you that are basically confidence boosters, they encourage you, they push you. And I think when you have people that are like that around you, you can do a lot of good things. So I needed you guys to basically just, for that encouragement, to show me, like, it's okay. You don't have to have everything perfect, and you don't have to have everything to be perfectly content and mapped out entirely. And it's kind of, when I think about it, it's like kind of the way I prep now. It's like, I don't know how things are going to pan out at the end of the prep. I just know that, okay, every day, if I do what I'm supposed to do, and I have passion with it, and I just basically, you know, cross my T's and dot my I's, I'll be one day better than I was a day prior. So I
Mhm.
just keep getting better, and it snowballs. So it's
Yeah.
like I already knew all this going through all those preps beforehand, but I just didn't really put that into real life with the shit when the shit hit the fan for me. Because in a
Fantastic.
sense, I'm
Yeah.
like in my darkest day of a prep, like I'm starving to death, I'm super hungry, and I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. That's how it kind of was when I lost my job and went bankrupt and fucking lost, went through divorce and all that. It was a pretty dark time.
Well, it just goes to show you that, your back's against the wall. Don't go back that way. Go that way. And, yeah, sure, maybe you needed a little bit of a nudge. Maybe you needed a little bit of a group effort to get you moving, and get that action going. But, Andrew, you're just, you're kind of that person that, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like you need that. It seems like you're the one that's always moving and getting action going, and you kind of remind me sometimes. I heard a quote the other day of the Marines. The Marines don't have time to plan. Part of their plan is their action, because if they don't move, they're going to die.
Yeah.
They're going to get shot. They're going to get murdered. And a lot of times you're just like, you know what? I don't know how this podcast thing is going to work. I don't know how this product is going to look, but you know what? I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do this tomorrow. And, you just seem like, unlike the rest of us that need like a little nudge when our back's against the wall, you go.
Yeah.
What is it? What do you do? What do you do, and what happens in your mind and every day? What are the habits that you go through that kind of make you do that action?
It make you do, Andrea. It makes you
Doo-doo.
do.
What makes me doo-doo? Coffee, fiber, no. I think, and I don't want it to be like my mindset versus like how Jeff says he's in it, because Lord knows without Jeff, like, it's good that we're both here to say that, because he, as Brad knows, but maybe not the audience, every time that I'm like, screw it, let's go, guys, and Jeff's like, whoa, hold on, and that's how it works out better, and how I don't end up like
Check balances,
going
yeah.
too crazy. Yeah, but I think I very rarely, when an idea comes up, I'm more like, well, why not, instead of like, why, which isn't always good, but I think it is one of the reasons why I can easily push, is because I'm like, well, what's the worst that can happen? And it's usually not that bad. Or I guess too, right? I think I've, at least the last decade of my life, tried to keep as many options open as possible, right? So it's easier for me to make decisions that like big financial ones or something like that, because, you guys have a family to worry about that I don't. And so I think there's that. Like, I think about that a lot, like with choices that I make. Is it, by making this choice, am I eliminating a lot of other choices that I could have? And so I think that's a reason why it was easy for me in my brain to be like, I'm gonna move to California and like, fuck it, because it wasn't, because what's the worst that could happen? Then I move back to Texas and stay with my dad until I figure something else out. Like, that's just kind of how I see it, is like, I'm not super terrified of if it doesn't work out, because I guess because I've proven to myself over and over that it's going to work out somehow. And I keep my standards pretty low. I, like, which again feels positive to me, right? Where I'm like, it needs to be like, for most things, like, good enough, I guess. Like, the same reason I'm terrified of like buying a house ever, because I'm like, but if I have an apartment, I can leave whenever and it's no big. So whether that's, again, useful or not to certain people, to me, that always having like one foot out the door to where I can always like abort anything kind of whenever, in some ways feels safer to me. So when I'm making decisions, I do my best to make them not feel super heavy. I try not to. I'm not the best at it, but That's something, and I'm constantly looking outward for that. Like Jeff had the guys to help him. Like when you say that I do things by myself, I mean kinda, but I'm always like reading and listening to other people and podcasts and articles and whatever. Like I do work on that real hard. I work on my life. And maybe my mentors are different or dead or in books or have no idea I exist, but I do still need them. They're just not as obvious, I guess. I think I just look in different places than most people would think.
Do you have any fears? You know, because a lot of times what stops people from doing stuff is fear. And kind of what I'm hearing in you is you're just kind of like, you know what, I'm going to break this down. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm homeless. I got to go live with my dad. There's the answer to that.
Yeah.
You know, I just get I got my 1 foot out the door. I can just go that way. You know, do you have any fears?
I have way more fears now that I'm a 3D coach than before because I have your reputation over my head. And I don't know, that's a forever thing that scares me is like when it's, again, right, because I adopted more people in my life that I care about. So like, I guess in essence, you guys are now my family and I'm terrified of letting you down. But when it was just me before, I'm like, no big. And you guys can attest to that from all of our meetings. Like if it's just me, I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, it's fine. It can suck. When it's 3D, I'm like, oh my God, is it good enough? Like, can it hold their name? Like, am I, because as much as I try to fight it, I can't get y'all off this pedestal in my brain. So that's, I think, the biggest recurring fear. And that actually might answer the question of why I freaking cry all the time at our meetings. Don't make fun of me, audience, but I do. When it matters and I feel like I let the guys down, I just like lose my shit. But that is probably the biggest fear in like when I make decisions like that, right? But in my personal life, I don't have many because I do feel like the worst is not really like that bad, I guess. Mm-hmm. I'll always be able to train. I'll always have a place to live because I have a family that loves me. Nah, not personally, but I think maybe that's why. Wow. And thank you for asking that because I don't really, that's why I like the podcast. I don't know think about that, but I think that is my biggest fear of letting you guys down.
Well, and I think, gosh, that's just so awesome because like that fear is something I grapple with all the time.
Okay.
All the freaking time. What if I let the team down? What if I, let my mom and dad down? What if I let my family down? But yet at the same time, I guess that's just another reason now why I admire you is because, I mean, the Bible, God says 365 times, I got you. Do not fear,
Yeah.
And you live that life kind of in a way. I feel bad that we've almost burdened you with.
No, it's a great burden to have.
And I guess it's like a kind of a good thing.
Yeah, it's a great burden to have. I mean, shit, I'm super lucky. I don't know, like that takes away from my effort. Like I wouldn't say it's complete luck because obviously there's work that goes into it, but no, it's definitely a good problem to have, and it makes me better. It makes me like for the same reason you're like, oh, you're fearless, but like that also means I do dumb shit a lot, and so I think you guys helping me me having standards to live up to makes me better,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
better not mess up.
See, because Jeff yells at me because he's a godfather and he'll have me whacked.
That's right.
No, I just I don't care about a lot. I guess that's another way to put it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I care about you guys. I care about Brandon. I care about my family. I care about my life as an athlete, but I try not to care about dumb shit. I try. Like I wear stupid clothes all the time. My hair looks like shit all the time. Like I try not to care about much. Makes it easier. But commitment's scary to me. Yeah, commitment's scary to me. Like we've wanted a dog forever, but I'm like, but what if we're not good dog parents? Or like, what if we need to wait till we have a 3-bedroom? Or like we need to commitment like that scares me. Like I was scared to be committed to 3D, but if I was to, there's nowhere else in my life I would commit to. It's a, I don't know, low
So
expectations.
that
I
turns out
I
you
think
have you have a little fear.
I think you care about the right things, because you're saying
Exactly.
I care about the people, I care about the work, what the reputation. I don't care if I like, okay, I move
Close.
and it doesn't work out. Like, to me, it's
Yeah.
like, if I go back to my dark days of like, I cared about, oh, I'm gonna lose the house, I'm losing my job,
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing all this, but in my mind, but looking in hindsight, all that shit was material stuff that
Yeah.
really does not matter. So now it's like I could care less about my cars, the house, or any of that
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
because it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's a good
Well,
point.
and Andrew, you touched on something there real briefly that I want to segue into Jeff's days in the
Okay.
early days of female stream. You're talking about, I know it's going to be work. I know it's going to be hard friggin' work, and like all the work that you do into the website and the podcast. It's like you knew that something in you knew that ahead of time. And Jeff, when you were talking about those days when you would like get 3 hours of sleep and get up and you go to work and you come home and you're training and you knew that you had all this work that was going to get eventually obviously pay you back, but at the time there was like no money for it. You spent hours on the website and there's a lot of freaking work. And I think that a lot of people just think that people get kind of stumble into stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, Andrea is so lucky because she was able to get this podcast going, and gosh, I could never have those kind of skills. And it's just like, think about the work behind the scenes that you never saw that girl had to go through. And I think about 3D in those early days, Jeff. And I think about you spending hours on that shitty little website,
Yeah.
making
Thanks,
sure
Brad.
that like every font was matching and all the columns were perfect. And,
Mhm.
touched on it a little bit with happiness, but what made you do that?
What made me do? What made me is obsess over a shitty website? I think.
Yeah, the bottom
Well,
line is that was work. What made you do all that work? What is
I'm
it
a
in you that
perfectionist. So my personality is, if, like, let's say, okay, since California's not in a drought, I didn't do this when we're in the drought, but like if I'm hosing my driveway down, I have to make sure that all the dirt and the cracks are out of, I just got to get it all out of there. So I'll sit there and I'll like take my time and get all that out. And it's really kind of a waste of time when you think about it. It's like, it's just freaking dirt and a crack. You're not going to hardly see it. But to me, it's like those are the details that really make a difference. So part of it's my personality. It's just kind of how my dad is, my brothers are. We're all like that. Where it's like we're kind of perfectionists in that way.
Mhm.
But it's those little small details can really make a huge difference. If you go to a job interview and you got one guy whose hair's not combed or whatever, but this other guy's looking pretty clean. If the answers are exactly the same, the guy that's looking clean might have a better chance just because it's a better representation. So doing all those, like spending hours on that crappy website, making sure the fonts were, everything was aligned and all that. To me, I was like, someone's going to see this. And I remember Eric saying, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I'm like, it is. It is. And I was like, no, I'm going to figure it's going to be perfect. It's like, it doesn't matter, Jeff. It's just the content that we're putting. I'm like, no, it's got to be perfect. So
That's awesome.
I just think, yeah, that's just how I am. It's just, though, that's kind of how I've been since as a kid. I think it just runs in my family. It's genetic, but.
Jeff's
yeah,
like, I have high expectations, and I'm like, I have the lowest expectations. And you're like the exact opposite. You're like, I have them up here, and I'm like, man, fuck it. So that's awesome. But that's good. That's what we need as a team.
Well, that's just it. Everybody has these little quirks that we have, and they all gel together, and that's what I think, in my opinion, that's what makes us pretty good.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think about too, you as a bodybuilder, and it's like, okay, yeah, Jeff's gifted. He's got great symmetry, but at the same time, I think one of the reasons that's ingrained in you, that's like that God-given gift, is that you are meticulous. And sure, maybe people on the outside might say, oh, well, he can grind for a long time and, he doesn't worry too much about planning. But at the same time, it's that meticulous nature in you that probably makes you a really good bodybuilder. When you're probably weighing food out to the gram and making sure that it's not okay to just have this meal out, or do this half-assed here,
Well,
like I said, it's nothing's ever handed to anybody. Yeah, you're gifted, but that's part of what makes you good is that you do all of that meticulous work behind the scenes.
I mean, yeah, I'll do this to the scale. I'll flick off the food so it goes to the ground, but nothing to chance. But I mean, yeah, people look at my training. They'll look like, yeah, there's quite a bit of auto regulation in there. But if you really look at what I'm doing when I'm training, don't look at my basic spreadsheets that I write for myself. Look at the work that I'm actually doing. The squats that I'm doing, the dumbbell presses, everything. In my opinion, when I look at it, it's not like I'm like a overly like a form Nazi, but everything is pretty precise
Yeah.
and pretty clean. And that's on purpose. That's done purposely because they just feel like, okay, if I make sure that these lifts look as pretty as they possibly can, I'm going to be targeting the muscles the way they should be. And that's there. So there's a lot of control and there's a lot of poise when I train. It's not like I just go in there haphazardly and just slinging weights around. So even though I appear to be on the simple side, within the simplicity, there is a lot of detail going on in there.
Mm-hmm. Big question for you, Jeff. Do you get a certain amount of happiness from getting all that dirt out of the cracks? You know, what is it that you get from that meticulous nature?
I ain't gonna lie. When it's all done and clean my yard up, it's all, and I'll go out in like the middle of the court and look at it, and I'll go, "Yep, that looks pretty nice." Or I'll wash my car and it's like nice and polished up. It's like you take pride in that. It's like a prep. You know, you get done with a prep, you attain your all-time best. You take a lot of pride in it. To me, it's like, yeah, it feels good to get that first place trophy, but you know deep down if you brought your best or not, regardless what that placing is. So even if you got a first, but you know you're at your best, if you're really true to yourself, you know you're not going to take full pride in that. You might be happy you won a first place trophy, but deep down, you know what's what.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Andrea,
yes.
Does all your fearless natures, do they ultimately make you really, really happy? You really get a lot of fulfillment out of that?
Yeah, I take a lot of weird pride in not in being scrappy. Yes. I
love when you say that.
I'm gonna buy her a T-shirt that says Scrappy on it.
I do take pride in it because I know it's rare because I recognize that if I did think like everyone else, I wouldn't have the things that I have. And again, the things that I have, it might not be a mansion or whatever, but the things that I have are like opportunities. I guess that's how I see it. So the pride that I have is more in my brain, and not like I see it. I mean, yeah, like I'm proud of the podcast. Like we just did 100,000 downloads last month. That made me really proud. And I know that we're all involved in it, but I always look backwards, and Brandon's always like, why do you do that? But I'm always like, every time I have a victory, I think about when it started. So like as soon as I saw that the podcast did, I'm like, man, I remember sitting in this room, in this chair, being like, maybe we should do that. And like, look at it, you know, it's been like less than a year. Yeah, and like it's funny because Brandon, I'm talking about my boyfriend, like he doesn't see anything he does as a big deal, and when I hit milestones, I always go backwards. I'm like, but look where we started. Look where we started with this. Look where it started with this. I think I take a real big victory in like completing things or like seeing a process through, or like I think that's what I take pride in, but I also take pride in weird things, but it's not necessarily the finished product for it, but it's more like the journey that it took to get there, I guess, or like seeing what we did together, or even be myself, right? Look what I built, kind of thing. Like,
well, you're stopping and smelling the roses.
Yeah.
Which I think is important, especially in our sport, because it's like shit. I mean, I'm still improving, and we're talking 31 years later. So could you imagine if I didn't stop along the way and enjoy what I've accomplished? It'd be like, you're just that always like that chase,
Yeah.
and you're never truly happy because you're never at the end point. So it's like you have to stop and enjoy those milestones along the way, no doubt.
Yeah. That's what I'm proud of. And I get proud of my brain a lot. Like, I get proud when I know, like, weird facts about fun things. Like, when I can relate. For real. Is that stupid? That might be stupid.
No.
Not like memorization, but like.
I love hearing what makes people happy.
Not like memorization, but like when I'm on this podcast and I learn something about myself, like, which you do this a lot to me, Brad. You ask me questions and I'll answer, and I'm like, oh shit, that's cool. Like, I get proud about stupid stuff like that. I guess my learning ability, I'm proud of that. I don't know. Connecting dots makes me excited like that. Like, I don't know.
That's so funny because I think that we have something a little bit in common. Like, Jeff loves it when he looks at his yard or he looks at that meticulous, meal that he just made, and he's like, that is spot on. And like you said, you kind of get this happiness from looking back and looking where it came from. And me, myself, here recently, I've been writing down my training on my chalkboard in my spare bedroom, and I mean, usually I just keep track on my spreadsheet that Eric gives me on my little device, but I don't know, there's something about when I see Monday, this was done, Tuesday, this was done. And like, even in my work, I'll get things checked off, okay, this athlete is done, put that note in there. This athlete is something about the satisfaction in the happiness that comes from that, is one of the things that I feel like we kind of have in common, and kind of is one of those innate things that keeps us pushing, when other people might not, they might relax a little bit,
Yeah.
And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, that 16 years where that was not happening and you were content and you were just going through the motions like Groundhog Day, it's like you're almost making up for lost time now.
Yeah. I mean, that was, I look back, I can't believe that I did that for that long.
But it makes you appreciate what you have now more.
It does.
Yeah.
But at the time, I mean, when you have when you don't have a college education, you have a job like that because it paid. I was making more money than a lot of college graduates, and I had full benefits. Yeah. So it was like you get that sense of security. So for me, there was no stress or no worry about employment. It was just like, I got this rock solid job. I go to the gym and work out, and I do bodybuilding shows. So in a way, I was still, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like totally miserable, but it was just that there was nothing there at that job that, I mean, you can move up as far as being a manager or something like that, but that just meant more responsibility, more hours married to the place. And that's not something I want. I was a team leader, and I had a lot more overtime, more responsibility. The stress levels were higher, and it wasn't worth, the little bit of extra pay that I was getting. So yeah, I just got content, and it became like Groundhog Day over and over and over again. So, I've also had like some of my younger athletes that I've had a few on occasion that they're kind of in that transition period of their life where they're like, do I go to school? Do I do this? What do I don't know what to do. My answer is always, you need to basically chase your passion. Whatever your passion is, you need to go towards that, because if you settle on the other choice, that might be maybe a safer choice, or one that maybe doesn't make you as happy. It's not gonna work out. You're gonna be not too happy. So to me, it's like always encourage people to chase their passion.
Yeah.
Jeff, would you say that life in general was easy? That 16 years of getting guaranteed a paycheck, all you had to do was show up to work. Would you say that was easy?
I mean, it was hard work. So physically, it was a demanding job. So I wouldn't say it was easy from a physical standpoint. I think from I would say, I mean, just because I had other life stressors at the time, so I wouldn't say it wasn't an easy life. It was just more of a safe life. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does. It
Like the
does.
only thing, like I didn't have to worry about, okay, am I going to lose my job or not until that last year. But if it was just, yeah, just a secure job. So it was a safe, calm, boring life. That's a pretty good way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you guys get asked a lot what makes us, successful, what makes us, you know, like kind of we're still here. You guys get asked that a lot from people.
You mean as far as we're still here as coaches, you mean?
Yeah, and as a coaching team, and we're all together, and we've done it for shoot, what, 7 years, and sometimes people just ask me out of the blue, sometimes email, sometimes social media. It's like, how are you guys staying successful? How do you keep doing what you're doing? You guys ever get asked that and ever think about, why that might be?
You'd have to ask
Because
Jeff.
this is kind of my theory. This is kind of one of the theories that I've come to. We're talking
Let's
about
hear
all
it.
this happiness.
Let's hear
How
it,
many
Brad.
times
You
do we
first.
see? How many times do we see, just failing businesses, or failing companies, or even just failing departments of a larger company, and yet they'll get bought out. The company will get bought out, and somebody else will take over. Like the UFC is a good example. That was a failing company, and then they get bought out, and boom, huge success. And so I sometimes my theory is that whoever took over there, they were loving what they were doing. They were loving. They had belief in their product or their company or whatever it was that they're doing. And I'm hearing Jeff, and he's doing all this hard work, and he's just loving it. He's loving it. He doesn't get paid for it, but he's loving it. And Andrea's got all this work but she's just loving crossing the T's and dotting the I's. And I just think, this is why I want to pose to you guys: is it happiness, the bottom line, that is making us successful? Is it just we love what we're doing, and there's nothing else we'd rather do, regardless of if it made us millions and got us mansions?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go for it. Please do.
Because you were supposed to answer it, but you didn't answer it. You ended up turning into another question. But that's okay.
Exactly.
I think when we started, it was we're passionate, we loved what we're doing, and we wanted to help people. And I don't think that's ever stopped. And I think it's continuing to go. And all of us are positive people, 99% of the time. Not everybody's positive 100, but we're 99% positive. We bring this lady named Andrea, who's super positive and just brought in another element to keep pushing us forward. Like you have this fifth wheel that's like, okay, all of a sudden now we got like a turbo on our motor now.
5-wheel drive instead of 4-wheel drive, yeah.
So now and it's like we're not, of course you need to put, you got to be successful. Like your athletes need to come in shape, and you got to put the product. You have to have a good product, and I think we're doing that. But I also think that we're not only just, in my opinion, putting great athletes on stage or on powerlifting platforms. We're also bringing. I think when the dust settles and they go through the process, they're better. They end up coming out better people. And I think because all of us coaches, we're not scared to show our true colors and be real people, and not try, like we'll say when things are going well. We'll also say when we're down in the dumps and we're struggling. And I think people can relate to that because we're all human. We all go through the same things. So I think it's just that passion that we all have, the love that we have. We love helping people. We want to help people, and that's just it. I think it's just from day one till now, it hasn't changed.
And we love each other.
Sometimes.
True.
No, I'm
kidding. Even when Jeff's yelling at us, I know he still loves us.
Yeah. No. Well, I do think that matters a lot.
That we love each other?
Yeah. For 5 people, usually can't get along for this many years. Well, I'd say even 4 of y'all, right? Because y'all are like all brothers. Like, I know I haven't been around as long as you guys have, but that's not normal for that many people to stay intact for that many years. in any job.
Not be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't always get along 100% of the time. Like we do have our disagreements from time, but I don't think there's any issue at all with any of us speaking our mind and everybody listening and having understanding and compromise, and it always ends up working out well.
Yeah, by love each other, I didn't mean like agree with each other all the time. I just meant that we love each other.
But I think that's
care.
That's a part of true love, though, that you're able to basically communicate on all levels, and I think that's something that we do really well as a team.
Yeah, and I think our desire to be open to each other, because we all teach each other shit all the time, right? Eric, I know at the beginning, and maybe it was like once a year, there's a really big push for like, hey, we need to communicate well. Like he's shoved books at y'all and like like the elements of a team and how a family works and how communication works, and I don't know. I just think that's a big deal, is that we're all willing to work on our communication skills year after year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I just kind of love where this has gone, because, we were talking about happiness, but, here I am, the Catholic Bible thumper. It's kind of come full circle, and it's like, you know what? More than happiness, it's love. It's love for each other. It's love for what we do, and I just thank God every day that I am living the life that I feel that I'm truly good at. I love coaching. I feel like my son is going to be a better man than me simply because I am good at that. I am good at the coaching aspect of it, and I think about all the people that are out there that die with that still in them. What is it that they're good at? And all these positive aspects that God gave them, and their abilities and their ideas that they end up going to the grave with, and I'm so thankful that and it keeps growing for whatever reason. I guess God's just watching out for us. But when we kind of started to get content, and it was kind of like, okay, we're doing good with the coaching, we're doing good here. Here comes Andrea, this little freaking just ball of fire that is like, we can do more. I've got all these ideas, and let's and it was something I missed for a long time. It's kind of like, why people always ask, why do you always have to push? Why do you have to push the envelope? Why do you got to, work for more? Why do you got to try to squat 450 pounds yesterday? You can always squat 400, and that was something I felt like I missed, was that love of what God gave us, and it's like, it's exciting. It's exciting to think about. Andrea came to us and brought us all these new avenues and all these gifts that she's got. And where is it going to take us? What's going to happen in the future?
No pressure.
And it makes me think to myself,
no pressure at all.
No pressure, but just
it may not even
Brad's
be
on a roll right now.
Andrea. It might be a new person or a new idea, or who knows?
Right.
But I think that it's important that we keep the love going. And I think as long as we keep doing that, we keep knowing that, keep pushing, keep driving. Andrea, you keep bringing those freaking ideas where it's like, I know this can work. And we're just like, oh, okay, what do we got to do? We need that. We need that. We need that work, that nobody sees, but they see the fruits of the labor when they're all done,
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know, pressure. But
watch out, Tony Robbins, because Brad's on it.
Right? I know, Brad's on it. No, I've never seen an end, and I think that a lot of people normally do. Like Jeff has never gone into a training session and been like, I only got a year left in me. I mean, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, to put it into perspective, right? Like, when I go on Facebook and I see all the people that I went to high school with, I'm like, damn, you already quit. Like, you already quit. 5 years ago, this is what I was thinking on Facebook, and I'm only 32. Oh shit, no, I'm not. I'm 31. I'm 31. I forgot how old I was. But by like 25, all the cute little girls that I did cheerleading with are like, damn, if they're listening, this isn't all of y'all, but I cheered with a lot of girls, but a lot of them are like obese and have kids and like don't wear makeup and like, and not that that like is a hallmark of a terrible person, but I'm just saying like there's a lot of people that I remember 15 years ago being like, man, they're going to do such cool stuff. And I look and they're like, oh, they're not doing anything.
Uh-huh.
And I know that, again, I can't speak for them. Like, I don't have kids. I need to keep, I know that changes a lot, right? It changes your priorities, but I get really deeply saddened when I feel like someone's given up or been like, looks back at high school like the golden years, like that's as good as it's gonna get. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I always feel like there's just so much more.
Yeah, I could speak from the sports side of it. It's like,
Yeah.
here I am in my mid 40s. This is like, I'm at my peak, and I'm
Right?
like, all that driveway cleaning, the cracks have paid off now, because now I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor, and I'm like, and I still have 10 years to go. So why am I going to just say, okay,
done.
I'm 45, I'm old, I'm not going to be able to do anything.
Well,
I'm going to
shit.
start regressing. How many people have you seen? Like, I've seen so many comments on YouTube and shit. Oh, you're in your you're not going to progress. You can't progress in your 40s. And I'm
Shit,
like,
they say 30.
yeah, I'm like, really? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then you look at, and same thing with Brad. I mean, look at his lifts.
Yeah.
He keeps getting stronger and stronger in his mid 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like, it's that beast mode mentality. Like, I'm trying to really get people to stop thinking beast mode. It's intelligent mode. If you're intelligent about your training and about your diet and all that, you could go a lot further.
Well, I think too, it's like a combination of, yeah, being smart about it, but also just seeing a cap when no one fucking told you that. Just because it's not normal doesn't mean that it's not possible. Like, that's just like a really simple, I'm like I feel like I'm going to have at least 10 other career shifts. No, even like I never thought I would be a podcast host, and I liked it so much I have my own now within like a year and a half or whatever. So I would have never thought that, right? I can't believe, I told my 2012 self that I'd be sitting here talking to you guys once in my life, much less all the time. Like, what? Like, it's been, I guess there's, up until this point, there's been so much shit as data collected that, like, there's some weird things that are going to happen that are going to be really great if you just, like, keep going. So, like, why wouldn't I think that that'll just continue?
That's just it. Yeah. If I didn't take chase that passion from day one, then we wouldn't be going to Australia at the end of the month to do a seminar.
Yeah.
Like, in order to make that happen, you have to put the work in. So it's like that, just that first step, and then it just builds and builds and builds. And you don't know where it's going to take you, but if you don't work, then how the fuck are you going to go anywhere?
Yes. Yeah. And I think
if you're complaining and crying about like, oh, that dude's on roids, or dude, because you're sitting there thinking like it's not possible, but you have yet to even put the work in that 45-year-old dude is been training for 31 years, but yet you've only been in the gym for not even a year.
Yeah, like if someone's done it, it's possible.
You got to put the work in, and don't complain. Yeah. Just put the work and keep plugging away and make something of yourself, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's the real life or whatever. But I mean, you ain't going to get the physique you want if you don't work, and you're not going to get, the life successes that you want if you don't work.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard
just born into wealth. I mean, but yeah, you got to put the work in.
I heard something great the other day it was you're better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have it come than to have an opportunity come and not be prepared.
Right.
All that work that the people put in there, what's it for? I don't know, but it's going to be when the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to be ready, you know? And the neat thing is that I truly feel like all these things that God gave us, we rub off on people. And Jeff, you kind of touched on this a little bit before, but I want both of you, in your perspective turns or whatever, how do you pass this on to your athletes? How do you use these God-given gifts and pass them on to not only your athletes, but just everybody that you come in touch with? Andrea, why don't you go?
I try to be a good example of it. Like my biggest, if I'm ever like upset or like letting myself down or don't feel like I'm living up to myself, I'll go back to a piece of content that I've already created that says, this is how you said you were going to live. Why aren't you living up to that?
Mm-hmm.
So like if I couldn't imagine asking anything of anyone, being my athletes, my friends, my significant other, whatever, if I'm not willing to do that same shit. So
by example, yeah.
And not just my example, but I think it's like we talked about this in the details that matter. It's like if I want these things and these are if this is the work it takes to get to this thing that I want, then I just need to fucking do that work. Like it's if I want my athletes to push themselves, I'll talk to them about it, but at the same time, like I couldn't be a good coach unless I had done it myself and the things that have worked for me. And then hearing the 5 or the 4 of you guys talk about your experiences, like every week when we record this, like I'm learning, and I'm just disseminating. And it's really a lot easier to have the examples, right? Like if I didn't do something great and my athlete's having a problem, I'd be like, hey, this is where I messed up. And, Brad's really good at this because he blah, 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 he talked about it in this podcast. Like, finding good examples of either the way I want to be or the way that I hope my clients will be. I think that's my job, right? To always, because people learn in like stories and examples and visuals, and like Jeff's a super, super easy one to have around, right? Like just the other day I was at, I don't know if you listened to this, Nick Bear. I was at his gym last Saturday. And he was bitching about his calves and was like, man, I'm just screwed. I'm like, but have you seen Jeff's? And I pull up on Instagram. I'm like, look, in 20 years, you could have really great calves. Like, it's just shit like that. Is having an arsenal of personal experiences, not just the 4 of you guys, but like, I think just being aware, like, where are good things happening? And when my athletes have problems, how has this problem been solved by somebody else? Whether it's one of y'all, me, in a book, another athlete of ours, whatever. I don't know, just paying attention and directing them to proof that this can happen and these are ways that it's worked. I don't know.
Yeah, and kind of expanding on that, I know that I'm the same way with Jeff's back. I'm like, okay, now, you know what, in 20 years, I can have Jeff's back. And I look at his pictures, of his back. But at the same time, I always tell myself, you know what? I can't get to the top of the staircase in one step. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I look at Jeff's picture and I'm like, I gotta get going. I gotta do my work. I gotta get in there and I gotta do my pull-ups. And I gotta get in there and I gotta do my seal rows. And when I don't feel like doing it, it's like, you gotta take another step. If you're gonna get to the top of that staircase, you gotta take this step today in order to get there, But yeah, that I just remembered that. I completely forgot about that. And it's kind of one of those things where it just happens. It like becomes ingrained in you. You start conducting yourself all the time by kind of just becoming in action, and it becomes a habit. Long time ago, I looked at Jeff's back. I'm going to get Jeff's back. It's going to take me 20 years. I can get Jeff's back, but I got to do this and I got to do this, and I don't even think about it, but I do it. I'm moving in action. Planning in action, I guess. Jeff, how do you pass your gifts on to your athletes?
Well, I think what's cool about our team is that each one of us is actually an athlete. Mm-hmm. So it's like we're leading by example.
Yeah.
So that helps out a lot. I mean, obviously, what we do, it's people see it. I think when people see things, it can become more powerful than me just saying, hey, you need to do this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's huge. And I think, when you have 31 years of gym experience, it helps out a lot in a lot of different areas. But even then, I don't know everything there is to know about bodybuilding, even though I've been doing it forever. Like today, I've been having an issue with the Skype athlete. He's been having digestion issues, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, you know what? I don't have the answers here. So I went to Steve, our RD, and said, hey, man, this is what's going on. He's having issues with digestion, yada, yada, yada. So Steve and I talked on the phone today for about 40 minutes. And basically he emailed the guy and he listed out all these solutions and what to do. And
that's awesome.
I could not give that to that guy. So for me, it's like, as a coach, I think it's important when you don't have the answers, then either research it or go to someone who does. Yeah. So to me, it's like, that's the beauty of our team too, is like we have 4 other coaches and an RD. So yeah, I think just utilizing all the resources that I can think of to help athletes out.
You were being scrappy, just saying.
I was scrapping. I was scrapping hard.
No, but being resourceful and like I guess that's another way of saying open to, just not being closed-minded. Because everything that you've said before, Jeff, you're always like, no, I was closed. I wasn't like from the almost pitch black area or whatever.
Yeah, I think. Like if you were to take it back like 10, 20 years ago and like let's say I was coaching someone and I couldn't figure this person out, I probably would have been just like really egotistical, too prideful to like look for, have someone else help me.
You'd be like,
been like,
he's not good enough for bodybuilding. His body's not
like
made
I know what I'm doing. I'm the coach. I know what I'm doing. So that's the worst thing you could probably do as a coach is to have that ego.
Yeah.
Amazing. I think if I was to close this podcast, if we could, we don't have to, but
whenever you're up to you.
I am excited. I'm excited. That's why I was excited to do this, and I think the big thing that I was hoping to get from this is not only learn from you guys, because I'm on this kind of this I don't know what you want to call it, but I'm kind of on this kick now, Andrew. You've lit a fire under me to rekindle that edginess, that scrappiness that I used to have, and I kind of got complacent.
Awesome.
And I kind of got content
get Scrappy shirts.
But I just want to share just one thing that I on the athlete kick that I passed one of my athletes the other day. He's like, he was asking me, Coach, do you think I can do this? I want to start my own gym because this gym's a bad environment, and I've got these two guys, and I want to do this powerlifting thing because I'm really kind of enjoying the powerlifting, and I want to do this bodybuilding thing because I really love the bodybuilding, and my response to him was, and I would really hope that a lot of people that are in that fraction of people that think kind of the way we do, get knocked down 7 times, stand up 8, all that kind of stuff. I just told him, I said, bud, you know what? I'm never going to tell you that you can't do something. I said, number one, you just got to know, you got to put the work in. You've got to do the work behind the scenes that nobody else sees. And number two, you got to believe in yourself. If you want this partner, you can do it. And I love this one saying that I heard that, a tree can't ever be anything but a tree. And a dog can't do anything but a dog. But man, you can transform yourself to whatever it is that you want to do as long as you put the work in and you keep moving forward. Don't be stagnant, but bring out whatever it is that you want in you. You may have to narrow your focus a little bit.
Yeah.
You might have to there's only so much energy and there's only so many hours in a day. And you may have to narrow down to just maybe 1 or 2 of those things.
First.
But I told him, I said, my son, if he wants to be an NFL athlete, I'm never going to tell him that he doesn't got the skill to do it. Because if he wants to do it, by God, he can do it. And that's. I hope that all the coaches share that sentiment. When they coach their athletes and what I think is pretty serious life type coaching stuff.
Yeah, and I would agree. Right, anyone can do anything. And being strategic definitely helps, right? If you had like 5 life goals, it's like you can do all the 5, but maybe you do 1 or 2 at a time, and then you'll get there. So I think it's like Jeff always says, like it's patience there, and like we talked about earlier, there's always time. Like I said, when I think there's still 10 more career moves in me, I'm sure there are, but I can't do all of them at the same time. But if I love them all enough and they're important enough, we'll just check the box every 3, 5, 10 years or whatever. And so it's just decision. Like you said, narrowing your focus for a little bit and then opening back up. What's the cool thing now? Okay, narrow it down, get that thing done, open it back up. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I agree with you. You really can. I heard something the other day. It was like you can do anything you want, but you can't do everything you want. So if you say, like, it'd be nice to do this, it'd be nice to do that, it'd be nice to do this. Well, okay, if you have 100, it'd be nice to. You can do any of those, but you can't do all of them. So, like, which ones really matter? And if it does matter that much, get it.
Godfather, you got anything to add?
No, I'm just going to keep doing what I do every day and just train and keep plugging forward so I can continue being the Godfather.
Yes.
There's a reason why they call me the Godfather is because I put 31 years of work in.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're just not owed anything. That's it. Yeah.
Do work.
Yeah.
Enjoy it, love it, have passion, chase it. Don't do it for the money. Don't make that be your priority because that's not always going to end up being a good thing.
Yeah, or the recognition or any of those kind of things. You guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brad.
More from this than I had hoped. So
that's so nice.
Scrappy.
We'll end it there with our Scrappy cheer.
Hey everybody, it's Eric Helms. Thanks for tuning into our podcast. As you know, at 3DMJ we promote evidence-based approaches to the lifting community. If that's something you want to dive deeper into, I'd encourage you to check out my research review, Monthly Applications in Strength Sport, or for short, MASS. This is a review that myself, Dr. Mike Zerdos, and Greg Knuckles put out every month. We cover the latest research publications that are applicable to strength and physique athletes, or anyone who's looking to get stronger or improve their body comp. Our content is in both written and video format. For more information on how to subscribe, check out 3dmusclejourney.com/mass. That's 3dmusclejourney.com/MASS for further details. Thanks for tuning in.